Hey there everybody, it's Mark Curley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Actually, this is the How to Color video, follow-up to a video that I did earlier showing the line work of this sports car that you see here. I did sort of touch up some of the inking lines after I was done with that video. Because I had the paper taped into place and I was not free to move it around, I did not get the best line quality, but anyway, I was able to go back and sort of touch up some of these lines. But now we're going to set aside this ink pen and pull out a marker. This is the Touch marker by Shinhan Art, and what I've got here is sort of a bluish turquoise-ish marker. It's got a sort of a brush tip. And I'm going to be using this to add color to this illustration. And what my idea is to do is to have, the body of the car is going to be mainly this sort of turquoise color, but I'm going to be using a lot of white later on to add shimmering, shining kind of surface to it, and it should be kind of cool, the effect. That's why I chose to do this illustration with a gray piece of paper, which is fairly unusual. I went to the art store, found this gray sheet of paper. That's going to help the white to really pop later on. So I'm going with my marker and trying to very, slowly but surely add color. My feeling is that the lower part of the car is we're going to see most of this pure turquoise color. The higher up we go, the more it's going to sort of fade off into the shimmering reflective white, which is really just maybe the sunlight or spotlights or whatever it is that's illuminating the shining off the car. When doing a sports car, especially when you see sort of like illustrators doing sports cars, they really love to hype up that shininess, Last thing you want is the feeling that there's like a matte finish on your automobile. You really want it to be shimmery and sparkly almost. So that's why I'm going to be pulling out the white later on. But for now, in anticipation of that, I'm keeping the coloring mainly at the bottom of the illustration. Now you can see that my approach is whenever possible to try to get a long, smooth stroke of the marker so as not to get the color too patchy, if that makes any sense. I mean, if I'm sitting here going back and forth and back and forth, you're going to see an awful lot of little dark blotches throughout that area that I colored in. So I keep going, try to, with one long, smooth stroke. And even then, you can see, it's a challenge to keep the color uniform. Anyway, over here, I think I will also be later on getting some of this white, but I'll go ahead and at least color a bit of this in with our, is this a turquoise? I think so. Let's say it's turquoise. Quilly, that is turquoise. Believe me, I know turquoise. And that, my friend, is turquoise. Anyway, you have to have some sense of structure for coloring. If you understand the shape of this side view mirror, you'll know that the shading, the coloring is going to get darker at the bottom and stay lighter at the top. And then with this, you have to be a little bit bold here, what I'm about to do. I'm going to go right across, oh yeah, with a single stroke. And my idea is that the lower half of the door is mainly going to be all turquoise. The upper half will be white later on. Saw a lot of illustrations and even photographs of cars where this tended to happen in the car door area, the upper section being white. It reminds me a little bit of that chrome effects video I did a while back. I wonder how many of you have seen that. There's a video on how to make chrome lettering, and generally the bottom part of each chrome letter is brown and the upper part is sort of sky blue, and that creates this shiny effect. Well, some of these same principles are, I think, coming into play in doing this illustration of a sports car. And I guess I've decided to try to do this all real time. You can see me sometimes kind of running out of things to talk about. Try to keep the patter going here. Part of the reason that I do time lapse a lot in my videos is because you know, it's hard to continually think of relevant things to say as you're drawing, and I don't want to be guilty of just talking for talking's sake. So why don't we go ahead and do that then? Put me out of my misery, and I'm going to finish up adding coloring to this all in time lapse. Okay, so you can see I built things up a little, especially towards the middle where it's going to meet that white. That's going to help make that even shinier looking. And now I've pulled out another touch marker, which is kind of a dark gray. And I'm going to go ahead and start coloring in whole sections of the tire here with this. It's almost sort of a brownish gray I'm seeing. I do not believe that you have to go out and buy the exact same markers that I've got here. That's why I don't like to make a big deal out of brand names and so forth. You know, any marker that you're comfortable with, Crayola, whatever it is, you know, go ahead and go for it. I really don't like this idea of people blowing a lot of money just to get a certain type of marker. But anyone who's watched my videos has heard me say that about 20 million times. So I'm darkening in this whole area. Like I said, this far tire ends up largely obscured. And I'm even going to be coming back with a second marker to darken up other sections of this tire. But I'm going to go ahead and do in between the spokes of our pentagonacular, what was I calling this? I can't even remember. In between on the hubcaps. Just going to go ahead and darken this in. But some other areas where you may want to add some darkness might be for the interior of the headlights. That's one thing I'm going to do right now. Move over here and add darkness all around here. Now there's going to be some shimmers of white for sure to make this look extra shiny. Boy, it looks like I accidentally went in there with turquoise. Acrylic. Scandalous. Coloring outside the lines. Didn't they teach you that in kindergarten, dude? Anyway, going to darken in some of these areas here. The grill here probably would benefit from some coloring, but I'm not going to do the whole thing live or real time. Requires maybe a little too much precision. But you can get what I'm going to be going for in that area. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for these parking lights. I think that's what they are. A little lower down, darken this in. I'm using the thickest. People might be surprised. Why are you using the thick part of the marker? And it's just, I don't feel like I need a huge amount of precision. Just want to cover as much of this as quickly as I can for the purposes of the video. And then sometimes, you know, what you want to cover a lot of in each stroke of the pen so that you don't, again, get this very blotchy effect that comes from going back and forth over and over again with a small fine-tipped marker. Oh, and then this area here, what I call the gill, kind of an area that can benefit from being darkened in. I'm going to go ahead and do the rear tire in time-lapse. Okay, now I'm coming back with what is really a jet black marker to go for some of the deep blacks that I want to be in this illustration. A lot of art teachers will tell you that contrast, getting good contrast in your artwork, is you know, one of the keys to making a good-looking illustration, and I certainly agree with that. That's why I'm trying to get some good sort of super black areas down here to contrast with it. And eventually, like I said, there's going to be kind of bright whites in this illustration, and that will really offer sort of the ultimate contrast. You get those bright, white, hot highlights in there, and then you're really going to be going up against these blacks. And for whatever reason, the eye is pleased by that. People like to, maybe it's just emblematic of what you see in real life. I'm going to add a little bit of extra definition to these hubcaps. The pentacular. Curly, will you stop with the pentagon thing? Enough. You are not nearly as funny as you think you are. And yeah, that's probably getting us to where we need to be. I'm going to add probably a few little highlights here and there, but I may kick into time-lapse for finishing off these last little bits here. Okay, well, we're finally at the stage where having done this on a gray piece of paper is going to start to pay off, and I'm pulling out a piece of white pastel here, really just like white chalk, and I'm going to start to add a shimmer of light to the windshield. The reason I'm doing this in pastel rather than colored pencil is that this paper has a certain grain to it, and I'm trying to get this as smooth as possible. And generally speaking, the pastel, because you can smear it like this, will get a good bit smoother, no matter how hard you try with a white pencil without just going to absolute pure white. Excuse me. It's not gonna. You're not gonna get as smooth a gradient as I'm getting here with this white pastel. And so I'm going to go ahead and continue doing little effects like that. Anywhere where I want a sort of a gradient move from white to pale gray, I guess it gradually becomes gray because of the color of the paper. And in fact, I'm probably going to use, and this may be a first for one of my videos, I'm probably going to end up using 3 different highlighting tools here. There will be times where I'm using this white pastel. There may be some times where I come in with a white colored pencil. And then my ever popular white gouache. So yeah, you can get 3 highlights for the price of 1, huh? How exciting is that? But yeah, we definitely want to get some highlight action going on with these headlights. Highlights on the headlights. That's where things are going to really shine, and I probably will be doing a fair amount of white gouache in that area, because that's where you want sort of a hard-edged white highlight for that real shine. This is where we decided to somewhat boldly divide the door into 2 areas, and so I'm going to get some white pastel going in here. You almost get kind of an airbrush, excuse me, effect with pastel. It's like a poor man's airbrush. But do they even make airbrushes anymore? When I was growing up, certain people would invest quite a lot of money in airbrushes. I'm sure they'd still make them, but they're, you don't see them as much. I don't see airbrush. It's all like computer now. In fact, a lot of people watching this video would be like, man, I could do this whole thing in Photoshop and save myself a lot of time. To which I say, yes, you are right. You could do that. But there's something nice about that, the handmade. You know me, I like to hold on to the handmade version, which is not to say I am opposed to digital art. People sometimes get the wrong idea, think that I never do. I never color anything in digitally. That is certainly not the case. Alrighty, well, I think we're getting enough of what I wanted to do with the pastel. Let me maybe show you quickly what the benefits would be of using this white colored pencil. Hang on, though, because I think I need to sharpen it first. Okay, we're back. Sounds like a TV show. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Crilly Show. Late night with Mark Crilly, or mid-afternoon Friday with Mark Crilly. But yes, the white colored pencil is going to allow you much more precision. And so that's why I'm going to do some of these things, like the little edges of things, I'm going to do with the white colored pencil. Could do that as well with the white gouache, which I'm going to be bringing out in a second. But white gouache is, first of all, hard to get it super thin, and then also it tends to be really bright when it hits the paper. And sometimes you don't want it to be absolutely at the, that peak of bright white. So I like to sort of combine these different tools. Oh, here's a good place where we can make use of this. I'm going into the hubcaps and going to get some white in here. Maybe even on the rims. Why not? Why not, man? I'm tired of being so cautious, so fearful of whether it'll work or not. I'm just going to do it, man. I think there must have been something in the coffee again. Not as much as there has been in the past. I'm saying maybe my wife put half a dose today compared to some of these other videos. And yeah, let's go ahead and I'll switch to the white gouache, and that'll be one of the last things I do. I probably will do a little bout of final polishing in time-lapse. But yeah, I think we got more of the real-time coloring in this video, certainly more than I normally do. But give me a second while I prepare the white gouache. Okay, so I'm back with my white gouache, and I'm going to just go ahead and go for it with these headlights. And you can see how that really pops, and you get a hard edge to the white, or to the highlight that is not really possible with the colored pencil. It's always going to be a little bit grainy. But like I said, I wouldn't want to do all of my highlights with the white gouache. Would just everything would be competing for your attention. Because I think the more intense the highlight is, the more it sort of pops off the page. And if everything's popping off the page, it can become a little distracting. Go ahead and drop, a little bit goes a long way. So some of these things I'm just dropping in little dots here and there, And yeah, chances are for the so-called polishing phase, I'm going to come back and do some of this in time-lapse, some of these highlights in time-lapse. But I thought you might want to see at least some of it real-time. And that might be about all that I need to say about this, huh? What do you think? As I said, the gray paper is the key. If you start with paper that has some sort of color to it, then the whites really pop. For this whole gill area, I forgot to add marker to. Some of the people watching is like, "What, are you going to color that gill area? Come on, man!" Yes, I will, but I'll probably do that in time-lapse. Speaking of which, I think we probably have reached the time-lapse stage. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up in what I have always called the final polishing phase, just sort of finish things off, and then we'll be back with a few final words. Alright, well there's my video on how to add color to an illustration of a sports car. Of course, some of these things, some of these little drawing tips or coloring tips could be used for any number of illustrations, not just for car illustrations. But let me go ahead and thank anyone who supported me by getting any of my books. We got Brody's Ghost and Miki Falls, my graphic novel series, as well as Mastering Manga and Mastering Manga 2. I do greatly appreciate the support of people who pick up those books. But let me go ahead and lay down this pen. I want to thank everyone for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back with another one real soon.